Hey guys, welcome to the Growth on the Daily podcast, the personal development podcast for athletes. My name is Ray. I'm your host. I'm a former competitive hockey player, passionate about self growth, and I'm here today to support you on your journey to becoming the best version of you. First of all, thank you so much for your support. I want to direct you guys to our Instagram at Growth on the Daily. Follow us on Instagram. You'll stay up to date with everything there is to know about the show. And with that, let's dive into the episode. Today's topic, we are talking about committing to growth. In terms of specialties for success, we have 7, and today we're talking about all of them: physical growth, mental growth, spiritual, emotional, social, business, and financial growth. Everything is encompassed. So if you are someone who's looking to challenge yourself, you're at a point where you're not really looking to settle with mediocrity anymore, then this episode is for you. So let's hear from the experts. The first thing I looked into this week was really trying to understand, where can we grow? As I mentioned, on this show, we talk about what I coined the 7 specialties for success. And that actually is a portion of an existing model. It's known as the 5 areas of personal growth from Jen 20's article. The 5 areas include mental growth, physical growth, social growth, spiritual growth, and emotional growth. When we're talking about mental growth, you're talking about everything that revolves around growing your mind. When you're talking about social growth, we're talking about improving communication. Spiritual growth is anything that actually brings you peace. Emotional growth is about mastering your emotions. Then we have physical growth. Now, physical growth, everyone jumps to exercise and fitness, which is true. Obviously, we're talking to athletes here. That's a big part of what you guys do. But more than that, it's about taking care of your body. So those are the 5 areas of personal growth that I was able to grab from Jen 20's article. However, we're growing on the daily, guys. So we're expanding that further. We also want to focus on careers and income and the things that maybe we're working towards in our professional lives. And that's why I included 2 other areas: business growth and financial growth. Business growth, we're going to talk about how you grow and diversify your income. We're going to talk about brand creation. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. Financial growth, we're going to talk about your personal finances. So budgeting, investing, whatever that looks like for you. So those are 5 areas of personal growth, which we've expanded to the 7 specialties for success. Now, another thing that I want to shed light on is a little bit of shade that happens in the self-help sector, because I know that you guys all know that there's a lot of just fluff when it comes to self-help. Everyone's suddenly a self-help guru. Everyone into fitness is suddenly a fitness guru, knows everything about nutrition. There's a lot of information on there. So my point is, there's a couple of things to be mindful of in this self-help journey that you're on. I actually found a quote from Forbes just to show you guys how imminent this self-help topic is in our generation. It says that 94% of millennials reported making personal improvement commitments, and they said they'd be willing to spend nearly $300 a month on self-improvement alone. Everyone wants to do better, and that's great. But that also provides a business opportunity for many producers who find avenues and find ways for people to just consume products over and over. So 3 things to keep in mind. The self-help industry keeps you a consumer. It wants you to keep buying products and products and products. The key with this is finding what works for you and consuming what works for you, and then putting in the work on yourself. The second thing I would say is, one danger with self-help, and I find myself subject to this all the time. When you're reading things like self-help books, which I love, they teach you about what you need to do, but they get you caught in this learning loop. So they kind of inhibit you from taking action. They say you need to do this and this and this. And you're like, yes, I'm obsessed with this mindset. I feel better. Like, I'm loving this new me. And then you finish the book and then you're like, I need to read the next book. But you don't actually make that many changes, or the changes only last the length of the book. So for that reason, this loop, that's the danger. And then that leads into the third one, which I previously just mentioned, was inhibiting action. The goal is to change and to grow, but that requires action. So if we're not doing that, that's a problem. So just things to keep in mind on your self-help journey. All right, guys, so we heard from the experts. Now let's hear my take.
Raise remedy.
So for Raise Remedy today, I want to talk about 3 areas of learning that I've had on my commitment to growth journey. One of the strategies I'd highly recommend is starting with a blank paper slate. If you guys are like me, then you guys are overthinkers. Sometimes you got to sit down with a blank piece of paper. This is exactly what I do, guys. And I just write down my goals or just things that I need to do and want to do. No particular order. The page should look like a mess because your mind's a mess. And that's really the goal here. It's just let's get everything out of your head and onto the paper so it no longer needs to be in your head. When we're talking about athletes, one thing that I noticed, especially when I was competing, is that I was always focused on, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, and then balancing it with my schedule. And there are other goals you want to commit because you don't just want to be an athlete and that's all you do, right? You can be, but if you're someone who actually wants to succeed in other areas of your life, you're going to have to be targeting those goals simultaneously. And that blank paper slate strategy helps you just narrow your focus. The second thing I'd recommend is pick what's most important to you in this moment. That means you might have a million goals on there. Okay, great. You will at one point have tried to tackle and reach all of them, which is great. Not at the same time. Right now, for me personally, I'm focused on my physical health and building up this podcast. Do I have other things on my list I want to focus on? Yes, but you can't do everything at once and you shouldn't. And the reason you shouldn't is because it leads to burnout. And burnout can lead to things like depression. And if you're someone who, like me, has had challenges with mental health in the past, then you know that it's a slippery slope when you push yourself too far. So you got to understand your limits. And that's why I say pick what's most important for you now to target on. So take a look at those 7 specialties for success. What's an area that you see, you know what, I really want to improve on this right now? And just dedicate a set amount of time and focus on that one area and then tackle the next. The third thing I would say is prioritize strategy over goals. This one is something that I constantly remind myself. As an overthinker, I am naturally an overplanner. And because I'm an overplanner, I tend to strategize constantly and set goals and wait till things are purposed to begin. But then you're not actually making any progress. So, what I would say is instead of focusing on I need to become this by this amount of time. Instead of that, say, this is where I'm trying to go. So you have a path, you have a general idea of where you're heading, and instead focus on how are you going to get there? What are you going to do every single day to get there? Once you're able to get that plan into place, naturally you'll find yourself heading towards that goal. Once you have an idea of where you're going, goals are still important, but the strategy is crucial. All right, guys, enough talking from me. Time for a quick shout out. So, this episode, we're talking about commitment for growth. And I recognize that this is a new show. We got a lot of new concepts in here. I want to make sure that you guys are able to take this and make a tangible difference in your lives. So, I'm going to be publishing a blog post this week, and it's going to highlight what those 7 specialties for success actually look like, how that applies, and how we're going to be involving that into the show. And hopefully, that allows you guys to take that next step further from the podcast and put those words into your everyday life. So stay tuned for that. More coming on that this week. Now, let's wrap up this episode.
Meaningful mentions.
So, meaningful mentions from this episode is 1, that blank paper slate strategy. I really recommend do a life audit. Understand where you want to improve. Take that blank paper and say, hey, this is my life. What do I want it to look like? The second thing is take a breath right now with me. Okay, we've taken a breath. And now tell yourself you're going to commit to whatever your capacity allows and nothing more. That might mean at some point you can do more and at some point you can do less, but you're always doing something, and that's good. Also recognize, though, a third meaningful mention here. Redefine the self-help cycle. I mentioned at the beginning of the episode that you can get caught up in this learning loop, right? Just digesting information, not taking any action. So what I propose to you guys is once you learn something, take it, digest it, reflect on it, whatever you need to do to keep it in your system, and then take action and apply it. And then pick something else to learn. The reason I say that is that allows you to avoid that cycle of being caught up in that loop and inhibiting action. And so you're constantly working towards something and improving yourself. So, to help you get through this week on your commitment to growth, I'm bringing to you a quote from Peter Drucker, the father of management thinking, who said that unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plans. Take that with you guys, digest it, and I hope that helps you through your week. All right, guys, that wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 2 here, committing to growth. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to listen, to watch, whatever platform you guys are on. And finally, thank you for committing to our motto, learn, grow, and thrive, because that's what we're trying to do together. Now, let's grow the show, guys, because we want to make sure we're developing this community. So share this episode with a friend, family member, teammate, coach, anyone looking to improve themselves. And then, of course, check out our website, www.growthonthedaily.com, for more info. Thanks, guys, and see you next week.